seat of the car that he was after. And each time the killer tried to play his nefarious craft, there was a truck driver flashing those high beams to blow up the bad guy's spot to save the woman. Light and darkness. Light and darkness are major themes in the Bible. According to the Bible, Jesus is the light of the world. Jesus is the light. He created the light in our world with his words. The darkness is largely associated with wickedness, with evil, with wrongdoing. According to John chapter 1, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness cannot overcome it. In our Isaiah text today, Isaiah sees the mountain of God. And the mountain rises and is lifted high above all the other mountains. And this mountain represents the epitome of the presence of God. The people's response to it is favorable. All the people want to flock there. They want to go to the house of God, so that they may be taught God's ways, and so that they may be taught God's paths, that war and violence and evil itself would end, and that there would be peace, and that there would be wholeness. And this all concludes with this invitation, O house of Jacob, come. Come, let us walk in the light of Yahweh the Lord. And this light theme is picked up again in Isaiah chapter 9, where it says, the people walking in darkness have seen a great light. On those living in the land of deep darkness, a light has dawned. And he is to be known as Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. First, there are other times in the Bible when this light theme is significant. With concern to the law, the Bible says, thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. And then Proverbs 6:23 says, for the commandment is a lamp, and the teaching of light, and the reproofs of discipline are the way of life. So the law is described as light, and such light can strike fear in us sometimes. For example, in Exodus chapter 19, Moses and the Israelites were at the foot of the mountain of God, and they were about to meet God. And there the mountain was full of smoke, and God descended upon it in a great light of fire, just like a furnace. And the mountain shook, and the trumpet got louder and louder, and then God spoke thunderously words of light. He spoke the 10 Commandments. The text says there that the people could hear God's voice, and they trembled with fear. And then they said, Moses, you go talk to God by yourself. So the law is light, but so also are God's gracious words are light. God's gracious words forgive dark sins, and they make them as white as snow. God's gracious words expel the darkness in our souls and illuminate light in them. God's gracious words bring us into the light, that we might dwell in the light forever. So all of God's words are light, and light dispels the darkness. And when darkness encounters the light, well, the darkness loses. Let's be clear, the devil and no wicked entity created the darkness. The darkness is just where the wicked go. That's just where our sinful selves are or find ourselves when we break the commandments. That's because we hide ourselves. We hide ourselves from the light so that we can do as we please. Job 38:13 says, God who created the light shakes the wicked out of the darkness. Well, it is Advent, and Advent is a time of anticipation. Anticipation of God's coming. Or to say it another way, is a time of anticipating God's light to shine very brightly. Well, through time and space, the light did come down. It came down and it shined brightly. God came down and imparted light. And why did God have to do that? Why did God have to impart light? Well, because the world is full of darkness. The first 5 books of the Bible are all about the tragedy of sin, about falling into darkness. And then it is about God's salvation plan to get us out, to re-illuminate it, because His creatures needed to be reminded of what and who the light is. And then prophets of old reminded God's people over and over again who the light is. From Noah to Abraham to Moses, God's leaders were witnesses to the light, much like John the Baptist was a witness to the light. And God's chosen people were to be a light to the Gentiles, to learn God's light words, to commit them to memory, and to teach them to their children from generation to generation. Because without God's light, there is chaos. Chaos among God's creatures. Darkness breeds more darkness. Wickedness breeds more wickedness without God's light. The flood is evidence of this. And so, God has to tell His own creatures about the light. He has to tell His own creatures to love. Love God and love our neighbor. God says to us that this is the light I intend you to be, to love. Love me, love your neighbor. And if you don't act with love toward God and toward your neighbor, well then you are acting in the darkness. So God had to tell us, He had to show us what the light is, so that we would know the instructions, because without it, we walk in the darkness, we do harm. Without it, in the darkness, we think of ourselves before our neighbors. We sit in the back seat of the car thinking no one is looking, thinking we can get away with it. Maybe because it's easier or less painful, makes us feel good. We walk in the darkness sometimes, and we, at times, stay there. And walking in the darkness, we offend God. We worship other religions, we worship other gods, we put fame and fortune before our God. Proverbs 6:16-19 puts it this way: there are 6 things that Yahweh the Lord hates, 7 that are an abomination to Him: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that shed blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, feet that make haste to run to evil, a false witness who breathes out lies, and one who sows discord among brothers. And God is not happy about it. He's not happy when we disobey Him. He's not happy when we make God lower priority on the list. God is not happy when we pervert His creation. And yet, in our sinful condition, that is often what we do, isn't it? In the dark, we disobey God. And we make God a lower priority. And we pervert that creation. And it usually goes something like this. You know, God, you're all right, but there is something missing from my life. There's something more out there. Something better. A better place to live. There's a better spouse out there for me, better than the one I have now. There's better religion out there for me. I know it. There's just something better out there. Well, that is how Satan baited Adam and Eve in the beginning. God was accused of being miserly by Satan. God was holding out, that's what Satan was saying. God was holding out one tree for himself. Why would he do that? And at times, we accuse God of the same thing. That God is being miserly. He's being selfish. Selfish, saying that there's only one way to salvation. He's being selfish, telling us how to love. For if God's not a God of love, he says there's a rule about who we should love and how many people we should love as a spouse. So we put the blinders on and we don't even know that we are in darkness. We're in the back seat, we're in the dark, but we're convinced that we're not in the darkness at all. No, we think we're in the light. Because we want to redefine light, because we don't like God's definition. And so we walk in the dark and we don't even know it, or at the very least, we won't admit it. Or in summary, we act just like the madman in the back seat of the car sometimes. And since we are in the back seat in the dark, God shines his high beams. God shines his high beams to pierce the darkness and to defeat the murderer in the back seat. And he does it hoping to save us, save our souls. He does it hoping that we won't be in the back seat with Satan or one of the killers. But make no mistake, when God shines his high beams and comes out with that shotgun, everyone in the darkness is terrified. Everyone in the darkness is terrified. He comes down in fire and lightning, and we all tremble before his presence. He went down to hell holding the keys to Hades, and everyone there was terrified. Terrified in the fear of God. For the light and darkness cannot occupy the same space, and the light always defeats the darkness. And since we are riddled and diseased with darkness inside our souls, God had to become the darkness himself, so that we might overcome darkness, and that his light would shine on us, and it would be imparted upon us. And so the light of the world was dimmed, and it became extinguished on the cross. Jesus was snuffed out on the cross. He went out. And in this way, he prepared us for the light to shine right through us. Because without that action on the cross, without it, his light would kill us. His light would kill us right where we stand when we encounter him. And so we need to be encountered by this light that is Jesus, so that we would not be dead in our sins, but we would be living light in the Lord. And what is the people's response? What is our response? Is it favorable? Is everyone flocking to the mountain of God? If you were to look at some recent news articles, you would find some of the biggest challenges the United States is facing is terrorism, corruption of the government, economic debt, the slipping of morality, the slipping of faith, racism, gender equality, poor education, polarization, class warfare, domestic violence, and so much more. Whether you agree with the news or disagree with the news, what that news tells us is there is chaos out there in the world. There is darkness out there in the world. And so it would behoove us all to admit that we all have a little madman inside of us that needs some light, to tremble with fear at the sight of the Lord, at the sight of the light, that is Jesus, and to admit to ourselves that we're sinners, that we've been in the back seat. We've been in the back seat anticipating an opportunity to get the better of our neighbor. We've been in the back seat to lie and cheat and steal and hate, all in the dark, thinking no one is looking, wearing those blinders. At times we call sin righteousness. We justify our sins. We redefine the light on our own terms, and we end up saying, who cares about what the scriptures say about this or that? I know better than God. Of course, the truth is, when no one else was looking, God was looking. And he saw us lie and cheat and slander and hate. God calls the shots. Just because we don't like what God says sometimes doesn't mean the light is still light. God's light exposes our nakedness, exposes our sins. And we call this the mirror function of the law. The law shows us our sins, and so we recognize our own sinfulness, that we would admit it, admit that we have been in the darkness, admit that we've been rolling around in it. Because if we don't do that, we don't admit it, well, we will remain in the darkness and will end up living a dark life in a dark society. But once we admit it, that sets us up for the gospel. And Jesus' light shines right through. And he forgives us all of our sins. And so great, it's so brilliant, it's so much better than the darkness. Well, it is Advent. Light is coming. That is what we anticipate. A light encounter is coming our way. Is that a scary picture, or is that a calming picture? Jesus will come, he will be born in a manger. Jesus will come again, descending upon the clouds to judge everyone. Is that a scary picture, or is that a calming picture? Well, as saint and sinner at the same time, it is both for us. Sometimes we need the light to scare us a little in fire and thunder, to scare us a little so that we can confess our sins and teach us the ways of light. And then, as Paul has said, the hour has come for us to wake from sleep, cast off the works of darkness, and put on the armor of light. Walk properly in the daytime, and teach the light to our children from generation to generation. Teach them to love God. Teach them to love their neighbor. And then the madman will be put at bay. The madman won't be controlling us and ruling our lives. And the gospel light is the root of all of this new obedience. For God daily puts the old Adam to death. God daily forgives us our sins. God daily makes us alive. God daily makes us new creatures in himself, in the person of Jesus. And God does us all that we would be living light in Jesus Christ. It is Advent. It's a time of anticipation. Light is coming. You hear the invitation? Come. Come to the house of God. Come walk in the light of Jesus. God shines his high beams that we would come right out of the darkness, that God would bind up the brokenness of his people, and that he would heal the wounds inflicted by his own blows. That he would take us by the hand and keep us in the shelter of his light. And for those bad men who remain in the darkness, God has reserved that light of justice for them. But for those whose madmen are daily drowned in baptism, they have been made the children of light, as according to Amos chapter 5. And in that light, as the prophet Isaiah says, there is peace, there is joy, there is forgiveness, there is healing, and there is righteousness. And it is this light of Jesus on earth, that will heal the land. This light, this Jesus heals us. Light is coming and has come. And it shines ever so brightly. It shines ever so brilliantly. And then, when the light returns, he will bring us to the eternal light. That our internal madman will be put to death forever, and our internal light from God will shine forever. You hear the invitation? God doesn't just say, come, but God also says, I'm here. I'm here, and it's not so scary, because I am not the enemy. I am here, and I'm here to stay. And I am shining my light to save. And I will not let the darkness overcome you. No, I have overcome the darkness for you, and I have done it, that you would not be dead in the darkness. But now today and forever, you are living. You are the living light of Jesus. Live in the light of Jesus now and forever. Amen. And may the peace of God, which surpasses all human understanding, keep and guard us in Christ Jesus. Amen. Let's continue now with our offertory.